Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on wherever you are. I'm here on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, where thankfully autumn has finally come and the weather has been a little bit better than it was last time I spoke to you. Those hot temperatures at beginning of autumn or fall, as you say in the US, were just a little bit beyond what we could take, particularly after we'd had a summer. Actually had hotter weather in autumn than I believe we had for most of summer. Anyway, so today I'm going to be a little bit controversial because I got myself in a little bit of hot water in a Facebook group the other day. I'm about to turn 62. I am what I am. I'm the age I am. So I've gone through the global financial crisis, the interest rate rises of the 80s or 90s. Can't remember where they were, but I know I had a loan on a house loan that I had not long had, and I do remember the interest rate percentages got to around about 17%. It was a tough time. And like all brand new homeowners, my husband and I had built our first home. We had really leveraged everything we had, and we were probably a little bit overcommitted on what we had to borrow because we just didn't have any cash behind us. It wasn't a huge loan, but for that period of time, it was reasonably substantial. And as the interest rates were rising, it was concerning. Luckily, we were both in good professional jobs, so my wage was going up and his wage was going up, and we weathered it and it wasn't a problem. And we then sold that place for 3 times what it cost us to buy the land and build the house. Just right place, right time. So I remember what it was like. I remember times of massive numbers of layouts. I, like you, have also lived through the last 3 years of the COVID crisis, where businesses have been forced to shut down, people have been forced to leave their jobs. They've either been sacked or they were mandated out of their jobs because they didn't want to take the vaccines. People have moved out of capital cities because they don't like what's going on, and they've moved regionally and rurally. I'm just like you. I'm in the process of negotiating a nearly $500,000 loan for a nearly $500,000 purchase for a business, for an investment in a bricks and mortar structure for my business, of which $250,000 of that will be a loan. Now, I, like you, am looking at the interest rate rises. I, like you, am looking at what the Reserve Bank is doing on the first Tuesday of every month. Have they increased? Have they decreased? Now, obviously, when you're a small business owner and you're working for yourself, you can't increase your wage. Half the time, you're not even taking a wage. Should you then turn around and say, well, maybe I can't market my business as much as I should, as I was. I'll cut back on Facebook ads. I'll cut back on Google ads. I'll cut back on what I'm spending on various forms of advertising. I'll cut back on my contractors. I'll cut back. Now, in my opinion, that's a false economy. What most people should do when things are getting tough is they should increase their marketing budget. And I'm just quickly Googling something because I wanted to show you. When you look back at the history of various downturns, and at my age, I can remember quite a lot of the history of various downturns, and see what happened during those downturns. Yes, they're tough at the time, but recessions usually breed innovation. And I've just quickly Googled this. This is a phrase I Googled the other day. Can I go a bigger screen? It's a phrase that I found very interesting because I Googled it the other day. What we do know is that during a recession, that's when lots of great ideas have come out. I couldn't find the actual graphic, but somewhere I have a graphic of the numbers of businesses, like really innovative. We're talking, the Afterpays and the Ubers and the businesses that have really rocked their marketplaces. When did many of them start? They started when times got tough. Um, Innovation during recession includes scaling back the production of new products, laying off staff and making budget cuts. Although it's all important to be conscious of spending, companies that decide to take the path less travelled are often the ones that come out on top. Forbes, there was a steep decline in I don't want to go to the article, I just wanted to see there is a steep decline in innovations during recessions. But there are ways in which you can innovate during a recession. In my opinion, this is absolutely my opinion. You can tell me I'm a raving lunatic. Go ahead, plenty of others have. But in my opinion, a recession, a time when things get tough, you know the saying, when life gets tough, the tough get going. It's a time to really take a long, hard look at your business. What are you doing? What are you doing that's going to make you stand out? Look at your marketing. I do marketing audits. Many of you know that. And it never ceases to surprise me when I'm doing marketing audits and I'll say, why are you spending, $100 a month on this piece of software? What benefit is it bringing to business? And 3/4 of the time the owners say, I don't know. I started with it and I thought it would be good. And I said, well, why are you still paying it? Because $100 a month times 12 months is over $1,000. It's $1,200 a year. Add that up, even if it's only $20 a month. And look, I do it myself. That's $240 a year. I do it myself. I'll try out a piece of software, and where I can, I go onto a free trial. The end of the free trial, what most of them do is they just, they keep your credit card on file and they just keep billing you. And you'd be surprised how many people have no idea what they're being billed for. So a recession is a fantastic time to look at what everything's costing you and to rationalize. Think hard and, what is this piece of software or what is this action I'm doing that's costing me, B, or costing me, 100 or 200 or 1,000 or whatever it is. What is it giving to me in terms of my business? Get really tough about your business, but don't stop paying for things just because you think it's going to get you out of trouble. Look at how you're marketing and work out what is it doing for you. Is it actually working? Recessions can always act as catalysts for innovations by forcing businesses to come up with new and innovative ways to make money. What the news is telling us recently is and I'm coming from an Australian perspective, but I know it's not that different to what I'm hearing coming out of the UK and the US, although they're very much bigger countries than ours. So 330 million people plus in the US. It's hard to generalize with the whole of, a situation that might have happened in New York versus, an outer, country area in Idaho, say. But as a general rule, what's happened is we saw a huge splurge in e-commerce during the start of COVID, particularly in 2020. That went on for 2020, 21, and much of 22 here in Australia because we had quite extended lockdowns. People were physically not allowed outside of their homes, or they were allowed to go 1 kilometre outside of their homes. So unless you happen to live next door to a shopping centre, you were tending to investigate and buy from e-commerce, which was fantastic. I know so many e-commerce businesses that actually made incredible inroads into their e-commerce stores. Some businesses that started up e-commerce and they'd never been in the e-commerce state. Some bricks and mortar businesses that have been sitting on the fence about, doing online as well as their bricks and mortar, that did absolute great guns. Now what's happening in 2023? Those sales are going backwards, because I heard the other day they're doing the latest sort of consumer confidence reports. People have really gone back to shopping again, back to the bricks and mortar store, back into the shopping centres. Their sales are up. and they're up now. A lot of them, their sales are up now, post what it was prior to COVID hitting. So people are swinging. So it's swinging back. It's the normal swings and roundabouts of sales cycles. However, people, you got to remember, people now, there's people who never online shopped before who are going, wow, that isn't half bad. So the COVID, I know most people don't like COVID, and I certainly didn't like the COVID period, but it has been a boom for e-commerce, an absolute boom, and I don't think that's going away. So innovation will help businesses become more efficient, improving their bottom line. Businesses can innovate and bring new products and services to market that are more likely to resist downturn effects. My point to you is don't blame the current economic downturn if you were never doing your marketing right in the first place. And I know that's not a very nice statement to make, but it's quite true. We've had a good period of very low interest rates, prior to COVID, very good growth in the economies, where people got away with not doing their marketing terribly well. What recession and downturns bring out is that it absolutely gets rid of those there that are just not, put it quite crudely, just don't have what it takes to survive. Best opportunities during a recession: consumer staples, utilities, healthcare. We know that. And I would add to that actually the luxury items, I mean the really super luxury items, like luxury handbags worth a couple of $1,000s each, and luxury jewelry and luxury cars. Honestly, most of those people are not that adversely affected. The super rich are not that adversely affected by recessions. The ones that are adversely affected is particularly your pensioners, your people living at or below the poverty line, and those who are just, particularly a lot of your young families, they're the ones, if I say, back to the 80s and 90s, when there was my husband and I, we built our house in 83, 84. We built our house in 82 and 83. So I was just, 22 and he was 23. We didn't have any capital behind us, and we were, what's the word? We were extended. Had we have had a child at that point, that would have extended us even more, because I probably would have had to have some time off work, etc., etc. So they're the groups that are going to be adversely affected. The super rich, they won't be. They won't absolutely be. What companies innovated? Here we are. This is the part of the list I was looking for the other day. What companies innovated during recession? Microsoft in 1975. Founded during the 1975 oil embargo recession. Electronic Arts, I don't know who they are. iRobot, I think they're the vacuum cleaner people. Airbnb, the global financial crisis of 2008. Slack, 2009. We were still in part of the global financial crisis. WhatsApp, 2009. Same. Square, 2009. Uber. I'm curious to see what their more items are. Microsoft, Electronic Arts is a video game developer and manufacturer. Okay, iRobot, Airbnb, Slack, WhatsApp, Square, Uber, Instagram, 2010. Pinterest, 2010. So come back to marketing. I'm old enough to remember about marketing back when Facebook started, when Instagram started, when Twitter started, when all of them started. I know I'm showing my age now. I remember all of them starting, and I remember about running businesses back in the 90s, late 80s and into the 90s, and into the early 2000s, when we had TV advertising, we had print advertising, and we had radio. That was it, and they cost you an arm and a leg. I remember when I was first running my my grooming business in the mid to late 90s. The social media wasn't, particularly here in Australia, social media wasn't really the place to be. We didn't have the numbers on social media. We didn't have all the community groups out there. And I did radio advertising at the cost of $2,000 a pop. And if I'd have gone to the radio advertisers and said, tell me how many conversions you're going to guarantee if I spend $2,000, I would have been laughed at. Whereas now people get onto meta ads, and when you're trying to sell meta ads to them as a service, as a contractor, they'll say, so how many sales am I going to get out of this? And am I going to get sales from day one? Well, I hate to tell you, the answer is no. And I can't tell you because it's advertising. Now we have so many ways and in which you've got a free ability to advertise. Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. What have I missed out? A mountain of them where all it's going to cost you is your time. That's it. Full stop. I'm on YouTube now. This is a completely free YouTube channel running off YouTube using free software called StreamYard. I'm only on StreamYard's free plan. I'm not even paying for it. I'm paying for nothing for this. Does it put me in front of many people? Well, it's growing. Slowly but surely it's growing. It costs me nothing except my time. So please don't tell me you cannot market your business now in a recession. It's not going to cost you anything. So look at your marketing and say, well, maybe I will cut back a little bit on the ad spend I'm doing on Meta ads or on Google ads. Be really, really, really strongly analytical about what you're spending and what it's delivering you. And that's the other thing about what I wanted to show you. I was in a group the other day and someone said, my sales are down by 20%, 25%, they said. And I said, well, 25% compared to when? Yesterday, a week ago, a month ago, last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago? What? Saying that sales are down, and any figure, 10%, 100%, 50%, millions, it's meaningless unless you know compared to when. So I'm going to show you one of the spreadsheets that I use quite a lot. A copy of order tracking, so share. So this is one that, just increase this a little bit for you. So this is actual real data off a real company. I'm not going to say who, but it was a Shopify site. And this was order tracking. This was sales tracking, numbers of orders. This is just one. This is just one tab. What was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. It is Friday afternoon. So this is the Shopify site, and what I did was I tracked back to daily sales, total value, numbers of orders, average order, and return customer percentage for every day back to when this business started on Shopify. Don't know what they were doing before Shopify, but that's the latest, that's the earliest date on Shopify. Oh, they might have been doing a couple in August, but I didn't count them because they were like a couple of dollars. So daily sales, and then all of that feeds up into September, October, November, December, and then same in 2023. All of that then feeds up into what's happening per month. So what you need to do with your marketing data is you need to look at your trends. If you're looking at daily or even weekly or even monthly and saying my sales are up or down, it's pretty meaningless. It's what is the trends. I remember when I first opened my first bricks and mortar store back in early 2000. We didn't have Shopify, we didn't have online, it was your classic, it was a pet store. And we opened in around about Valentine's Day, February the 14th. And we had a fantastic February. We were a brand new store. We were the only pet store within a 70-kilometre radius. People knew me. They knew me very well. It was back when I was also grooming. There was a lot of excitement. We had a massive big opening. I spent $1,000 on the opening day with lots of, bouncing castles and free giveaways and all sorts of stuff. So we had a fantastic February. We had a really good early March. Then March came around and April came around and the sales died in the backside, literally died. But because I had no historical data for the years before, I didn't know whether that was just a yearly trend. So ask anybody running bricks and mortar, and they can tell you there are trends. There are months that are up, and there are months that are down, and there are months that are super good. In the pet store, we always had a fantastic late November into December because it was Christmas. We always had quite a good winter. You know, and as I was trading then for a number of years, I saw the trends. Yes, you know, March was always bad. We also knew, because we were in a local country area, we knew that the week that the Maxwell show was on was dismal. We might as well have shut the doors. Everybody saved up for that week before Maxwell show. So Maxwell show was always a Friday and a Saturday, and that week, and we had the Kempsey show on the week. I think the Kempsey show was the week before that. So on the Wednesday, so we had Kempsey show, then we had Maxwell show, and then Coffs Harbour show not far below. But the Kempsey and the Maxwell, and they used to murder our sales. It is, still is. The rules changed a bit now, but at that time it was very, very low socioeconomic area. People only had a certain amount of money to spend, and literally the week of the shows, they saved all their monies up for the rides at the show and the extra goodies they thought they were going to get at the show, and just even for the show entry. And the first year we'd opened on February the 14th. The show was in April. It was always generally around about April the 25th or thereabouts, not the 25th, but that late-ish April. And the second or third year, show's on. Show's on. We also knew that on a stinking hot day, if we got a heat wave day of above 32 or 33 degrees, again, we might as well have shut the doors. We had an air-conditioned store, fully air-conditioned. It was absolutely superb in there, but people just didn't come out, particularly in an area where we were in. A lot of the people around town were quite older, and they just would not venture out. Rain, heavy rain, they would not venture out. So we learnt what the swings and cycles were all about. And we learnt not to panic, because again, I was doing what I'm doing here with this test data. I was tracking the data every single day. What have we taken? I didn't have things like average order value. It was basically what did the till tell me at the end of the day, and how many sales have we done? Not how many customers had walked in the day, but how many sales. But I was able to know how many customers had walked in, and out of those numbers of customers who'd come in, how many people actually bought versus those who just came in and looked around and went out. And I tracked all of that data all the time. And I crunched those numbers all the time. And so I was able to then look at the sales and say, what's up, what's down. Now, 2022, as I said, that's only September. So 2020, I should say. It was only March through till, 2020, it was only March through to, in this case, through to December. So that's sort of skewing the numbers. But there's really solid information for 21 and 22, and then would have gone on for 23. So what is sales doing overall? And when you're looking at the sales, so daily, and then wind them up into sales monthly, what is happening monthly? What's your trends? Not only what are your sales trends, but what is your average order value trend like? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? When you're running, again, we've got some fantastic analyticals now. If marketing is getting tough, then what you want to do is you want to go after that 20% of customers that are giving you 80% of your sales, because it's much easier to get additional sales from a customer you already have than it is to go out there and try and find a customer that you don't have and get them to buy. So you want to increase your average order value. And if you look at this particular case, in September 22, the average order value was $80. In October, it was 81. In November, it was 87. In December, it creeped back a little bit and went to 86. So you're always looking and saying, what's the average, and how does this month compare to the average? Because that's going to take the swings and roundabouts out of it. Then you also want to look at, and that's obviously an error, that number. It shouldn't be 0.40, so there's obviously an error in the data coming through. But what's your returning customer percentage? Again, this is Shopify data. I'm pretty sure WooCommerce will give you this as well. I don't really crunch figures on WooCommerce as much, but how many of the people are coming back because they've shopped with you before? Same principle again. It's easier to get increased sales or sales of a customer that already knows and likes you than it is to go out there and find new customers. So if your returning customer percentage, and this got a little bit concerning there, and that's a percentage, not a dollar. So that should be number. If you've got returning customer percentage increasing very dramatically, then look at your marketing. What are you doing? Don't know whether I've got it down here, but some months when the returning customer percentages got up here around the creeping up to almost the 60% mark, that's a concern, because it often means you need to look at your marketing strategy. What are you doing? Are you going back there and hitting those repeat customers harder and harder and harder and harder and harder to get that sale? You see it a lot in businesses that rely on sales. We've got a 15% off, we've got a 20% off, we've got a 30% off, particularly when that's going out to just their existing customers. Because what you're going to do is you're going to teach those customers to only buy when you've got a sale. So your average order value is going to go down. Your returning customer percentage is going to get uneven. You want a nice balance between the numbers of new customers coming in versus the number of existing customers that are coming back to buy with you. You've got to keep topping that funnel up all the time. You've got to keep being out there and being having new customers see you and find out who you are, and then keep coming in, because the returning customers, you always got a percentage of them falling away, who have found somewhere else to go. They no longer like your product. They've maybe moved if you've got a product that's location dependent, or they just get sick of you and they find someone else. The other number that's really important to track is online store sessions. What we found very interesting in this particular business is it went really hard at over Black Friday, and it was really interesting. The sales up until the week, so Black Friday, I'm just trying to remember when Black Friday was that year. December, November. Black Friday was the 25th. Oh, I've got it here. Duh. Black Friday was the 25th. These figures are a little skewed because what we ended up doing was ending up having a sale that said you don't need to wait for Black Friday because we've got some great deals on now. So that's how we managed to keep the dollars up. But what I did find, I'm not sure whether I looked at it on here. I don't think I looked at it on this table, but I certainly looked at it, and I looked at the numbers of purchases versus online store sessions. So I wanted the online store sessions showed me who was preparing to purchase. They'll show me who purchased, and they'll also show me who's preparing to purchase. So I'm tracking online store sessions, because if your online store sessions are going down, even if your sales are staying up, well, then it usually means your average order value is up and the numbers of orders are up, and that's good. But eventually, if your online store sessions are down, then eventually you're going to get into trouble with sales. And what we saw on the weeks going up to, see this November the 18th, we saw online store sessions, as I say, this table isn't the best one to demonstrate this on, but we saw online sessions staying very high, even though the sales weren't as good as what we would like. And it started from way back in, see this late, we saw it right from here, from the sort of end of October 2000, November 1st, 2nd, what we saw 5th, we saw people start to, and this is about when we made the decision to bring in the we don't, you don't have to wait till Black Friday campaign. Because what we were seeing was people were sitting on their money. They were sitting on their sales thinking, well, is this place going to do a Black Friday sale? This was an online-only e-commerce store. So that's what I'm saying when you need to look at your metrics. Don't just look at what your sales are. Look at what your average order value is, and there's a million other metrics you need to look at as well. I'm just going to show you. I'll change screens, share this tab instead. So this is more e-commerce data. It's on there, May, June. So that's October 22. Let's go to November. So what I'm constantly tracking is what the date is, what the total sales are, what the online store sessions is, what the returning customer rate is, what the store conversion rates are, and these are also the numbers that you need to keep your eye on. What is the overall? And that's the same as converted. How many added to cart? How many reached checkout? And then how many converted? And what are those percentages doing? Are they going up? Are they going down? Are they bouncing? You know, all of these will tell you the story. So when times get tough, this is when you really need to know these numbers. You really need to be tracking these numbers. Now, I maintain that you should be tracking these numbers all the time anyway, because data is power, data is knowledge, and knowledge is an ability to make money. But it's really much more important. What we find when things get tough, and you say, what are average order values? What's your percentage margins? What's your cost to convert? Blah 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 blah. What's the lifetime value of a client? All these questions, a lot of business owners will say, I have no idea. What did your sales do last year versus next year, but last year versus the year before? What was quarter one versus quarter two versus what? And I say, I don't know. What are you, and on top of all this is, what are your email conversion rates doing? I don't have that file up here, but this particular company, I was also tracking email conversions. What was the open rates? What was the unsub rates? What was the spam rates? How many dollars were being converted off all campaigns? Now, that's the way I do marketing. I do marketing based on numbers. Numbers can lie. I can make numbers lie. So can politicians. Numbers can lie, but the numbers will tell you the story. And if you don't know your numbers, then you are much more at risk during this recession, because we are into recession, without a doubt. And what are these numbers doing? So trends? I don't look at daily. I do look at daily numbers, but I don't pay much attention to daily numbers. What I like to pay attention to is what are the trends. If we go back to this one, what are the trends? And track the trends in whatever way your brain can work with. In my case, I'm happy working with these numbers. I can see trends in these numbers. But if you can't see trends in numbers and you need to see trends elsewhere, then do a graph. This is a Google Slides, Google Sheets. You can do graphs in all sorts of ways. Do it in a way which is meaningful for you to see what are the trends. I don't like it when I'm seeing stores that are bumping up and down like this. Now, it's unrealistic to have them go like that, unless they're brand spanking new. You will usually see that in, I don't think I did this prior to this. But when you've got sort of like peaks and troughs like that, usually what it means is you're relying too much on sales, on a sale, a 25% off, because you'll get your peaks, but that long term is destroying your ability to maintain your business. And then I was doing a whole lot of prediction work. I think I did it on this one. No, where was it? Must have been on daily size. You need to be able to think forward as well. There it is. I was looking at the daily averages for November and December, because November and December in this particular store was Black Friday, and it was a particular product that was well suited to Christmas present stuff as well. Your averages November, December are going to be different to your averages October, November, December. November, December was a much higher average. So there's the numbers, and then there's thinking about what the numbers mean, and then using the numbers to then start to do some predictions. So yearly forecast for 2023, if there's no growth, then this store, if they did literally about $100 short of $1 million in 22, which was really annoying. But never mind. It is what it is. 22 was, I tried to push it really hard to I tried to crack that $1 million, but yeah, 898,927.95. What is that? 898. It's it's 10,000 short of $1 million. So with no growth, and because the marketing had been substantially changed when I came on board in September, so September, October, November, I was able to fairly confidently predict that this store would do 1.2 with no sales growth in 2023 if they stayed with a good marketing plan. 20% sales growth, they should be doing 1.4, 10% 1.3, 25% sales growth should be 1.65, achieved in 22 versus 21. So it's then what do the numbers tell you and what predictions can you make? So always go back on the bigger picture, not the smaller picture when it comes to marketing numbers. And trust me, there was a million ways this business could be innovating. It was a fairly innovative product. It was a fairly different product, but there are still many, many opportunities to innovate over and above that. The other big social media platform I forgot to mention, of course, is TikTok. So if you're not on TikTok and you have a product that's going to do well on TikTok, then you should be on TikTok. Again, this is all free. This is a world of difference from back in the last recessions, the 2008 and back in the dot-com boom of the 80s and 90s, when we didn't have all these free places we could go out there and make noise. We do now. And so go out there, make noise, but have it underpinned by a decent marketing strategy. If you're making a lot of noise and it's not underpinned by a good marketing strategy, then stop wasting your time making the noise and potentially shut your doors. Because this is when we're going to find out those who are play acting and pretending to be a business. And God knows we saw a lot of people who started side hustles during the COVID times, 20 and 21, who are now tending to shut their business. We're also still seeing, this is a time when we see all of the, here's a way to make money quick people coming out. They're out there by the zillions right at the moment. So do not be taken in by the hype. This is when those who are really going to be successful at business are going to stay open. And we do know that 30% of businesses fail every year, no matter what. Recession, boom time, no matter what. 30% of businesses fail every year. And I've been in business long enough now, since the early 90s, to know that there are big ways in which you can be in business and not be doing it correctly. I nearly went bankrupt in the late early 2000s, late 1990s, when I wasn't in business in the right way. And I know that now. It was a strong lesson. I didn't lose the house. I didn't end up with any creditors. Everyone got paid out, but I lost $100,000 in that whole thing. The $100,000 that it cost me to buy the business. Live and learn. Live and learn. And what I knew was I was undercapitalized, and that had this now been in these days of social media, gee whiz, I wouldn't have gone broke. I wouldn't have gone bankrupt. I wouldn't have had to shut down. I know that now. But anyway, such as it is. So, should you cut back on your marketing budget? Right now, my answer to that is maybe. But what you should be doing is you should be having a long, hard look at it and questioning, is it any good? Is what I'm doing working? What are my numbers showing me? Not on a day-to-day basis, but on a longer-term basis. Who are my customers? And this is all underpinned by having had a good marketing strategy right from the word go. Who are your target clients? Where do they hang out? What sort of content are they going to respond to? Both in terms of building audiences and getting to your websites, and in terms of sales. But building audiences is the first bit. And if you don't have all that in place, then you are in trouble over the next at least 12 months, probably more like 2 years. And now I'm not saying don't cut. I'm not saying don't cut your budgets. I'm saying first take a big deep breath and don't panic. There's a lot of panic out there right now, as people are seeing their home interest rates go up. And trust me, 7%, which is what's going around at the moment, that's nothing compared to the 17% we had in the dot-com boom. Maybe you have to sell up and move out. Maybe you have to, maybe you've overcapitalized, or not overcapitalized, but maybe you're overcommitted. Maybe it is time to do that move. What COVID taught us was You don't have to be in a capital city to be running businesses. Maybe you need to get out of that capital city and make good money. The market, the real estate market's back on the improve. There's higher clearance rates going on. The dollars are coming back there into the market. There's not a lot of people in that market that are terribly worried about the interest rate rises. So maybe it's time to sell, and either sell and downsize, or sell and move up and move out to another area and take money you've got tied up in bricks and mortar. If you've got a million plus, million and a half tied up in bricks and mortar in Sydney, then maybe it's time to get out of Sydney or Melbourne. Maybe it's time to move. A loan that's out over 25, 30, 40 years, lots can happen in that time. I've never had a housing loan run out as long as what it was what the term of the loan was agreed for. Current one was agreed for 30 years, and I'm 10 years into it, and it's practically paid off. So, recessions, cut back on your marketing budget or not? The answer to that is maybe. Certainly, you should be looking hard at what you're doing, bricks and mortar and online. And you should be thinking about, how can I innovate? What am I spending? What are the dollars going out on? What's it buying me? And you should be doing that, recession or not. You should be doing that through the good times as well. Okay, so have a lovely weekend, everybody here in Australia. And if you're overseas, and depending on when you're seeing this, I am going to go now and have myself a glass of wine. So remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click on the notifications bell. If there's particular questions you want answered, tell me. I'm happy to answer questions. I don't necessarily want to keep presenting all the sort of information that you that you may or may not want to see year in, time in and time out. Tell me if there's a particular burning question. I'm only too happy to answer those burning questions. So have fun. Do not panic, I suppose, is what my main message is right now. Don't panic. This too shall pass. And maybe if it means you've got to get out of your business, well, then you've got to get out of your business. But please do it from a point of having carefully considered what it's cost you to get that business up and running, and why you were doing it in the first place. Don't do it from a point of panic. There's a lot of arguments around. A lot of the big four banks are running around saying interest rates will continue to rise. There's indications economically that is not what's going to happen. The Reserve Bank is saying that we're probably hitting a plateau. I doubt we're hitting it. I doubt they're never going to go back to 1%. That level we had during 2021 and 22 was absolutely unsustainable. For self-funded retirees, they were being devastated by the fact that they just weren't getting any interest. They weren't getting a decent rate of interest on their savings, on the money they had in places. So that wasn't sustainable. I think we've plateaued. I believe, I'm not an economist. I've done fairly well watching economics over the years, and I did very well in economics at school. And I've had many years of watching economics and learning from the greats out there. I think we're plateaued at the moment. But this is not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. And I think it's a case of hold on. And if you can sustain it through this, then the next years when we start to go back to times of growth, which we will, because we have more times of growth than we do a recession here in Australia. We're very lucky. We do much better most of the time than we do less of the time. So hang on in there. I offer complimentary marketing audits. I offer complimentary chats. If you want to run your data and your information and what you're doing past someone who's a different eye than what you've got, who doesn't have all of the stuff caught up in should you close your business or should you stay open, or or what. I come from a non-judgmental place. I will give you my opinion on it for what it's worth. You might then say you're full of rubbish. Please, by all means, I have no problem if you say that. But get, not just from me, go out there and get advice from other people. Don't sit around in the groups where it's all woe is us. We're all going down a deep dark well. We're not. There are still in all the Facebook groups out there some people doing very, very well, trust me, and their businesses are still growing very well. They've got careful marketing strategies behind them. They're taking good advice. They're still pouring money into their marketing. Anyway, enough carry on for me. Have a great weekend. Take care. Be kind to yourself and take the time to love those around you and appreciate them and enjoy the beautiful autumn weather we now have.